Hello, I want to make sure that I clarify this is not a religious video. It is not promoting books. It is information. I started an investigation on 1/9 of 22. It didn't take very long. I was born into organized crime, which is FBI, Joe Arpaio. My family was out of Connecticut, and so I did some investigation. I've got a $500,000 house to get back in Phoenix. There's a $1 million judgment against me, and I've done nothing wrong. And it's been going on all my life. And I'm not going to go into detail of all of it. There are plenty of other videos if you want to watch it. What I want to bring up here, gave one message to Joe Arpaio on the Sunday. It was on the 9th. Joe, tell me about Joe Mendoza. And next day, William Sanders had pulled me over to the sheriff department, and of course Joe Arpaio's sheriff. I'm in Colorado. That's Phoenix, Fountain Hills, Joe Arpaio lives in, so that's the interstate, which makes it FBI. Pulled me over the very next day before noon, 11:10, on my bicycle on the back road in Penrose, riding with no hands. He had 3 years to pull me over that I had been riding with no hands on that particular road. 3 years. He picked the day after, and got home, and my favorite cat had been taken to the animal shelter and put to sleep. 2 days later, I gave him another message. I think it was Wednesday evening. A family member, I'm not to get into names on that, a family member called frantically, get off of Facebook, threatening me. You've got to. I took advantage, I'm a psychology teacher, I took advantage of her false frenzy. It was a frenzy. And I changed the subject. I says, now what was that favorite restaurant of yours? And I won't say what. But she immediately said Sambo's. And then she changed it quickly. That one word connected her to Joe Arpaio after all these years. Because only Joe Arpaio would have called her and told her, get him off of Facebook, stop the investigating. And Sambo's, when I was 14, 1976, the same year that Don Bowles was murdered. Joe Mendoza, my family said, you're going out with a Christian counselor. He did no counseling. Went to Sambo's. This is your FBI, an undercover agent for Joe Arpaio. And I saw him go back in the Cook area. I'll be quick about this, but shortly after that I heard the rest of the story, that a girl had been food poisoned. No, that's not what they said. The parents fed her the rest of the hamburger, and the girl died supposedly eating at Sambo's restaurant. The parents fed her the rest of the hamburger in the hospital. I won't go any further with that. Apparently a murder to rob out Sambo's restaurant. FBI was apparently running out the entire business out of the country. And since FBI has been following me, an FBI agent, I'll talk about Tiger Woods very quickly. She was trying to disturb Tiger Woods' game, the only one in 1,000 talking loudly, and nobody else was around that wanted to listen to her, trying to ruin Tiger Woods' game. And so I notified him And his private messaging was clearly FBI coming back. The third one said, "How are you paying your bills?" And that is not the talk of a millionaire golfer. That's FBI. And it needs to be understood that Tiger Woods has a one-man crash and he's broken his leg and he can't golf for a while. That could be FBI too. So if anybody wants to contact Tiger Woods, apparently I can't. But another one, Marie Callender's, she even told me how she did it. They just plunge out one of the P-traps in the bathroom and shut the place down at a large business point, and Marie Callender shut down soon after that. Was that in the 2000s somewhere? But they told me how simple it was. And I got a death threat. Very nice, thank you. Don Bowles was the death threat. Apparently, what's going to happen to me is what happened to Don Bowles. If you don't know who Don Bowles, you don't know who Joe Arpaio is, look him up. You don't know who Joe Mendoza is, he's a public figure, a little more obscure. Gila County Development Pace in Arizona can tell you about that crook. And I won't go into much more detail, except I solved that murder. Don Bowles was murdered by Joe Mendoza. And the dynamite was a backhoe operator in Pine, Arizona got him the dynamite. And that's what happened there. So your history books need to be written correctly. And your news needs to be put on correctly. When you have a 17-year-old FBI agent, it was interstate, so it is FBI. He went from one state over to Wisconsin to do a murder for the FBI, apparently retaliation for the George Floyd prosecution. They're going to kill two of you, put one in prison. Yeah, he got off on 3 words. He felt threatened. No, that's FBI. You don't get off that easy unless the government's on your side. And I could go into one that happened to me. I was attacked, and like I say, my home was taken. Roger Schwartz, a longtime injury attorney, did the injury, claiming I did an assault and complete fraud, and they just took it out on Rule 11. You can't have a trial, you can't get out of jail. Stayed in Maricopa County Jail 15 months and then on to a Yuma prison for 3 years, $1 million judgment, and all events going on FBI. As soon as I turned 6 years old and I had done the test to go into first grade, the government was all over me. And maybe before that, my my grandmother used to mention how her brother, when he was 6, the government came in and cut his throat. And while he was dying of infection, they taught him to sing the national anthem. And I want to put this in here. I'm not going into detail. Mafia and FBI are the same thing. Your police, your organized crime, your mob, your mafia. It was FBI that ran out Sambo's, and they had no problem doing a murder in the middle of it. Marie Callender's the same thing. You got one more recent of Tiger Woods. Have fun with it, because I can't get a hold of him now. I am not promoting religion. This is what is happening. The reason why Joe Arpaio's gang friended up with my parents from in Connecticut area and followed him out to Maricopa County. My grandmother just mentioned there could be a history of a Jesus type of person. Second coming, it is likely that this is what we've got here. Me. There could have been a lot of second comings and they may not have even known it. I'm 59 years old now and I had to learn what your mind frame was in order to decide that mine is different. This is my mind frame. This is Jesus' mind frame. This is not religion. This is government. Christ is police. Anything you see, no one knows the day nor the hour that their Lord doth cometh. That's your police. That's your government. That's your destroy and feeding the carnage. What Jesus was teaching did without military. They segued over from one event. This is a copyright for a book as came out of Washington, D.C. And they had paperwork. The government follows me. I was going to be back in Colorado here on 12/14 of 2019. 2 weeks later, the first case, and I'm not free to mention what the case was, very significant world event. 2 weeks later, 200 miles from here, I think there were several cases, and they were the first ones. And yes, I do think it was about this book, and I'm not promoting this book. Punishment, Americans can do better. And whatever, it worked. I didn't sell any. Got the post office box and nothing in it for 2 years. Let's see, Death Threat Don Bowles. Oh man, I took care of all of it. There it is. Let me go over this again. I'm going to say it a few times here. This is the first thing I made when I started doing YouTube videos on psychology. My first video apparently is off of YouTube now. It was, I think it was 10/29 of 2019 that I did that video. And then I went on to Arkansas for a while and came back to this. And anyway, that's his history book, and I'm gonna tell you right now, this is how to read that Bible, as a history book. You've got two things going on, two opposites. Jesus and Christ are two opposites, and as I say, your police, your military, your FBI is just another branch of military. Worldwide. Your governments worldwide are a conglomerate. We see them segueing right off from this event onto the Ukraine war, and praying is not going to do it. Pray, that's your police. Anything to do with punishment, faith, Jesus said faith without works is dead. In other words, faith is dead, get to work. He was a carpenter. He wasn't running around policing people. So anytime that you see know the day nor the hour, that's a threat that you're going to burn in hell for eternity. No, this is not about holiness. Read that thing as a history book and separate the two. This is my big point here, and Mafia is also FBI. It's the same thing. Joe Mendoza knew the man out of Chicago, Don Bowles, and he talked about the Sambos murder. So Joe Arpaio says, hey, go ahead and kill him. And he stuck some dynamite under his car in a parking lot, according to what I looked at on the internet there. I heard stories when I was a kid. My father would say good old Joe and talk about Don Bulls, and I didn't know what it was about. I was 14. A lot of policing has gone on in my lifetime that I have never done anything wrong. I was attacked on my property with tasers and leg chains. Pine, Arizona, 6424 West Jan Drive. Taken off to the next day. I was in an isolated cell the next day. Dorothy A. Little gave me 2 sets of numbers to describe what I was charged with, because they had no legal charge, and I was not allowed to ask any more questions. Just got out the door and on to the Globe Jail, 120 miles away. They charged me $460 to get back, and I had done nothing wrong. And to follow somebody 3 times on their own property shackling, putting chains around their legs and parading them around the state jails is just a day in my life, and I've done nothing wrong. And we're going to get down to all that and get my home back in Phoenix. But that 2 different things, 2 opposites. Jesus, your goal is only to collect information. No argue. Shut up. You'll notice the person next to you, anything that doesn't match what they already have. And you tend to have a credible source. You have the bad guy's going to be your credible source. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to hear anyone arguing. I do know what other people are doing. And people that were born like Jesus probably did not know what the other people were doing. To separate it and to realize that this is what Jesus was. He was a person, not a son of God that wanted to die for the sins of the world. That's police. It's very common for a culprit to say, hey, the victim liked it, or something like that. Victim, the victim, the victim. And no argue, no decision. Your job is to relax and to take in all the information you can. The mouth doesn't throw open and argue. That's what Jesus taught. Remember, this is not religion. Jesus and Christ, there's your religion if you want to do that, because it's out of the bounds of truth and reality. This is game psychology. This is real psychology. Decision by information is universally compatible. And no more military, no more police, because you're not fighting anymore. You find better things to do. Everyone is hearing the shock jock events on the TV, oh, tragedy of Ukraine, and collectively are the same ones creating that. And this cannot understand sequence. It's a hypnotic state of mind. You have 8 billion people under a hypnotic state of mind. You have memory, you're a $12 computer, and you have thinking, which is this, decision. And see that? No decision. You don't make a decision till you need to. And that was why they killed Jesus. And this stuff here gets very obvious in the Bible when you start reading this as a history book that was very much manipulated. To the victor go the spoils, and the government had all the lying rights they wanted, and you were trapped in a hypnotic state of mind, which 2022 years now, amazing, an entire world of people. And yes, you need to start looking into it. Are there more Jesus-like people? Are there more second comings? And here it is again, and here's your police as the Christ. And I'm going to shut this off, and you've got your information. Enjoy.